thanks for coming back to Boys Against NATO. Today we're going to talk about a rifle that y'all have seen on the page a lot, specifically in my hands. It is the BCM. This is a lot of acronyms, so try to keep up with me. The BCM Enhanced Lightweight Fluted MCMR / QRF, because it started out as an MCMR. Now I've changed it to a quad rail, which is the QRF version. So we're going to go ahead and get into that, and yeah. What I want to start with first is kind of to answer the why you see the BCM so much on the channel, why you see it in my hand so much, and why I've kind of made it my go-to rifle. I'm gonna go ahead and start out with one. If you see me kind of peek down, it's just because I want to make sure I don't miss anything, especially on something like this that's so detailed. So I've got my notes set down. Most of the time I'll look at y'all, but I will peek down every now and again to make sure I'm on track, because I like to ramble. The first thing that I want to go ahead and hit off with is BCM is very boringly reliable. Okay, there's not a lot of super special stuff. It's not ambidextrous on the lower. There's not an adjustable gas block. None of the things that a lot of higher end companies will offer as kind of bonuses. And that's okay with me, because everything that I kind of set my rifle up to do, or everything that I look for in a rifle, is boring reliability and durability. So I want a rifle that's going to be a little bit overgassed, right? If I'm not putting a suppressor on it, a little bit overgassed for those reliability reasons. But I also want the internals to be nil spec, so I can kind of have a baseline of what I'm understanding that rifle is going to be able to endure over a prolonged length of time. So boring reliability, that's something that I'm a huge fan of. Let's see, so we can go ahead and hit on the next one. I'm going to answer as to why I chose this specific upper. As I already said, this is the Enhanced Lightweight Fluted version. The reason I went with that is because during my time as an 0311, we had the IAR. It was a very thick barrel. It was great for whenever you had to go full auto. It was great if you had to do a long amount of sustained fire. But again, this rifle is set up for a kind of shit hit the fan general purpose rifle here in America. If you're in that kind of situation, you're not really going to be sitting there laying down the amount of rounds that you would be on a support by fire with an entire platoon's worth of people, or with an entire company or battalion's worth of people trying to cover a maneuver, right? So a lot of stuff will be very guerrilla and tactic, and I don't see anything that I'm going to get into, even if it was complete shit hit the fan, that this barrel can't handle. Also, pencil barrels have came a long way from where they started, especially with quality manufacturers like BCM. This is the fluted version, so it does save a little bit on weight, but really the big pointer for me on that is the fact that it does help with heat dissipation. Something that I've noticed whenever we're firing off these groups and whatnot, yeah, the group does open up after the barrel starts to get hot, but it doesn't really shift, if that makes sense. So if your group is like this, it's not really shifting much. I mean, it might, but not enough to your eye to notice it, but it does open up, right? So you're still within that the vicinity of what you need to be with what you're engaging. And I didn't just buy this rifle willy-nilly. Another rifle we have in the project with a 14.5 pin and weld Enhanced Lightweight Fluted. That's where I started seeing the performance with this, and that's why I got this one. Real quick note, there's 5,490 rounds on this rifle as we speak. After February 4th and 5th, at the next rifle clinic that I'll be taking with Blake Flannery, Maneuver Training Solutions, definitely check them out. Orion Training Group, all those guys. It'll be at 6,490 roughly. So it'll have another really good range day. But let's see, another thing about BCM, why I really enjoy them, is their quality control, right? You don't have batch testing with BCM. Every single one of their products is inspected individually. That's one of the things that you pay for, right? And the people can feel certain ways about that. I've got a buddy named Ross, hey, Ross Becky, shout out him. But, and you know, he doesn't look into it as much as I do, but for me, if this is a rifle that, hey, I expect this rifle to sustain combat, this is how I want it to be. So, let's see, what's the other one? Okay, yeah. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with the upper itself, and kind of grand thumb, got a good way of doing it with going one side to the next, so sorry man, not trying to steal your shine, but we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna start at the charging handle. It came with a basic BCM charging handle. I don't remember the exact model. It worked. It wasn't the ambidextrous version. It was just the, you know, strong. If you're right-handed, the tab is on the left side, which was nice. It had a good purchase. We've also got other ones in the project that are BCM that are ambidextrous. They work. I just have a preference for the Geisley. The way that it rounds down, which we'll show some pictures. The way it rounds down, it really makes it easy to not snag on shit when you're in kit. There have been multiple times with different charging handles that I've used over the years, especially the IAR charging handle, that I would look down and it would be caught up on something, and then my bolt is coming back and doing this, right? Is it really a huge deal for an average civilian? Probably not, but just kind of a nuanced thing, and I don't like it. So then we're gonna go to, I'll go ahead and say the bolt and bolt carrier, okay? Everything on it is nothing fancy. You've got a phosphate finish. You've got, I believe it's, what is it, 8620 on the bolt. Yeah, 8620 on the bolt carrier. Okay, so that's the material of steel. That's carpenter steel. Nothing special, right? The gas key is chrome lined. The runway to where the bolt goes into, that's chrome lined. Okay, that might not be a huge thing for some people. They say nitride works. Well, chrome line has also worked, and that was what the original design was meant to be. That's what I've seen work in very humid southeast conditions, so we're gonna run with that. The bolt itself, Carpenter 158 shot peened, magnetic particle inspected, HPT, all those basic mil-spec TDP kind of things that might not mean a lot to somebody, but when you're putting down a lot of rounds down range, it kind of just gives a little bit of that comfort, and it makes you feel like your money was worth well spent, and I prefer that kind of thing. Let's see. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and move into the rail itself, okay? So this started life as a MCMR, sorry, Marine with fucking whatever you call them acronyms. We got the rail here. It started out with the M-LOK rail. I like that because it was lightweight, but what I want to do with this rifle, and the reason I moved it to be a quad rail, is because I want to eventually put a PEC on it, or a ball, or a D-ball, or something. I'm eventually going to want to get into the night vision game. So the reason that I'm wanting to do that is, or the reason that I moved over to this, is just for a little bit more rigidity with the rail itself. So I'm not really going to lose my zero as easily as if I did have something that, you know, wasn't quad rail. So quad rail master race. All right. Now we already hit on the barrel, but something I will say about the barrel, it is, I'm looking at the notes here because it's a long ass acronym. It's MI-B-1159 S or 5E. That pretty much, that just says that it's a certified mil-spec steel. It's cold hammer forged and chrome lined. Cold hammer forged, if y'all don't know, which most people do, a barrel that's cold hammer forged is going to most likely last longer under a higher sustained rate of fire than what, you know, things like a stainless steel barrel and whatnot. The chrome line, for me, yeah, I might lose a little bit of accuracy that I wouldn't have, or that I would get with a nitride, but I think I'm going to get a lot more years worth of use with that heat, right? And definitely corrosion resistance. As I've already said, I'm here in the southeast, so things get very humid, and obviously you can just clean it, but what if you can't? Or you know, all those kind of things. It's just a feel-good thing, and it's kind of like a baseline of quality that you know you're getting. Okay, like I said, it's not a very special boutique rifle. It's just a matter of like, hey, you're getting a bunch of things that have been proven in combat that should give you a nice warm and fuzzy down in the pelvic region, if you feel me. All right, so now we're gonna hit on the muzzle device itself. The muzzle device is just their standard BCM muzzle device. I'll be honest, I don't like it. You have a lot of flash on it, not a lot of good flash suppression on there, and it takes up the same style like space or form factor as an A2, but I can't mount anything to it suppressor wise like I could with an A2 if I, you know, bought certain adapters that are supposed to fit it, yada yada, all that kind of shit, right? That's another thing we're trying to do, is get suppressors. So I'm gonna have to change this muzzle device out. It does work okay as like a muzzle brake or a compensator, however you want to look at it, but it doesn't do that super well either. So really this is just a muzzle device that is good at really nothing, and I don't really like that. So I will be changing that out, but for the sake of review, I had to hit on it. Move on to the lower, and I've got the BCM SOT Mod, what is this, the Mod 1, yeah, SOT Mod 1 stock on here. This is probably my favorite stock. You've got two different QD sections right here. You can't see the other one because obviously it's not fucking facing you, but you've got two right here, and then you've got two little tangs right here. You got one right there and then one on the other side. It mimics what's on the other side to also put a sling through. That's pretty cool. I like that. I use the QD shit just for ease. Then you've got right here on the bottom, fucking onward research, get out of the way. Then you've got this tab right here that you could put a rubber band, a Ranger band, anything like that, 550 cord, whatever your heart's desire is. And that could help you house a tourniquet, an extra tourniquet, or it could help you, you know, if you get those things that you can put on the stock to help, you know, retain your sling, I guess to say, you can do that. So now I will say that this stock, oh, also you've got the famous Star rubbery butt pad on here, which does feel nice whenever you're shooting in kit. But I did have a different stock on here than what it came with. It did come with the basic BCM stock, and the only reason I don't have that on anymore is because, to put it frank, I broke it. I don't put that on the stock itself, and I don't even put it on the rifle. What happened was I had a ruptured casing in the rifle. This is probably, Actually about 6 months ago, we had a pretty high round count. What we were doing that day is we were trying to test how hot it would have to get before it would start shifting groups, and it never did. It just opened up groups, and I already hit on that. But so what happened was I tried to mortar it out, and I broke the toe right here. I actually hit it so hard, I'm surprised that I didn't bend the receiver extension or buffer tube, whatever you want to call it. So I broke that, and it still functioned actually, because the toe is the only thing that broke. I still was able to run it the rest of the night. But that was a good excuse for me to come home and tell my wife, hey honey, I'm buying more gun shit. And it's you know, held up ever since. And as you can see, it's definitely had its fair share of use. My favorite stock. And also what you can see when you'll get some close-ups, you've got these swells on the side. So whenever you have a higher mounted optic, or like this one's just a 1.7, so it's a good compromise between high and low, it helps you get a better cheek weld than just getting you know, a little bit of your chin on there, if that makes sense. Now, I don't tune rifles, so I'm gonna be very careful about what I say here, and I'm not gonna use a lot of absolutes at all, because I'm just a motard who buys rifles the way that they are, and I run them the way that they are. But you've got a standard, for all I know, I think it's a carbine length buffer, but it does have an H buffer inside of there. Not sure what the spring weight is or anything like that. Works good. I'm pretty sure if I put an H2 in there, it'd probably soften up the recoil a little bit, but I don't really want to fool with the gassing because BCM has already perfected that. Random note about that actually that I forgot to hit with the bolt carrier. You will get bolt carriers that have marks on them from BCM because, as I said earlier, whenever everything is individually inspected for quality control, they actually fire the damn things to make sure that they work alongside of all the other QC shit. So there's that. They have figured out the gassing on these rifles to make them work. Now, obviously right here on your castle nut, you've got proper staking. You've got it on both of the little slots right there, so that's good. Stake your castle nut, you godless heathens. Let's see, now we're gonna go into the pistol grip. I'll be honest, I really like the angle of it, but it is very slick, and not just in gloves. I could definitely deal with a little bit more texturing, especially here on the back edge. I would prefer a little bit more texturing. I'd say that the Magpul, what is it, the K2, something of the sorts, I think that's probably my favorite pistol grip. There's a couple that I'm looking at that I want to try, but this one's angle is good, and I wanted to keep it as stock as possible, and it didn't really cause me any problems, so I didn't see a reason to go out and buy any more money or buy anything else for sake. So the magwell, there is something kind of fucky with my magwell. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but whenever the gun runs dry, it inserts just fine. The problem is, and right now it won't do it because this was a 30 round mag, so there's 29 in the mag and there's 1 in the chamber, so it'll go in just fine on attack reload. Even there I kind of had to shove it in, right? Now with a round in the chamber and a full 30 coming out, let me see if I can actually, I got mags right here. You see that? See how much harder that was? This is a full 30. I actually shoved the fuck out of it to get it actually in there. Big deal? Not really, because attack reload, you're kind of doing it on your own time rather than being emergency about it, hence the name. So it's not the biggest deal. I can shove it in there, but it is kind of an annoyance because you have to really make sure you're getting that motherfucker in there. Other than that, it does accept all different types of magazines. We've ran Lancers in here, Magpuls, Gen 2s and Gen 3s, Surefeed E2s, even these 20 round bad boys, which by the way, check that sticker out. Shout out Bear and the Outlaw. If y'all need camera work, hit him up. Check his Instagram page out. Guy's a fucking G. But 20 round magazines, we've tried all kinds of different magazines on this thing, and I can't find anything that hasn't worked. Now that's gonna lead me into my next points. All right, so this is gonna be the last thing what I'm gonna round the video out with. Kind of final thoughts. There's probably some stuff that I missed, probably some not, but it's okay. If you follow the page, you'll probably see anything that I did miss. All in all, I can't recommend this rifle enough. We've torture tested the shit out of it, which I'm gonna try to get the B-roll in there. There's been a lot of data corruption on the stuff with us trying to start the page and whatnot, so I'll try to find it. If so, you're gonna see this thing absolutely filthy. And that's the thing, it's only been cleaned 3 times, and that was because it had sand in the chamber from where we were purposely dumping shit inside of it trying to kill it. And we did only because we actually made such a barrage of shit in it that the bolt could not go forward. That was the only time this rifle has actually malfunctioned, aside from that ruptured casing. So the reliability is definitely there. Durability, everything is still holding up. This rifle started out about, depending on the ammo, with about a 1.5 MOA, specifically because we shoot a lot of steel. But with the brass, I could typically tighten it up more towards 1 MOA, depending on if the grain weight. Side note, 62 grain M855 actually fires better out of this than standard M193. Now granted, it's a 1 in 7 twist barrel, so that should happen. It's just weird because I've never seen M855 actually be more accurate than M193. So just random note, it does like the heavier weights, and that's inherent with the 1 in 7 twist. But yeah, durability's there, reliability is there, ergonomics are there, duh, it's an AR. And it's like I said earlier, it's boringly reliable. Whenever I'm looking for a combat rifle, I want that. All the little things about it doesn't have an adjustable gas block, X, Y, and Z. If I want to change those things in the future, whenever I get a suppressor, or if I can't work it out with the buffer system, right, then I'll change those kind of things. But for what I need it for with a general purpose rifle, it comes to me exactly how I need it. All I got to do is add the optic, add the light, add the sling, X, Y, and Z. There you go. And I think that's where a lot of Americans, specifically people that have a tighter budget, but they want to be able to fork out a little bit of money, a little bit of good chunk of change to buy something quality. BCM is hard to beat. I don't see a reason to go any lower than BCM unless you really have a tight budget constraint. And what I did, for anyone before they say that I'm hating on anybody or that I'm siding with one side of this stupid argument that's online about what your rifle is and what it isn't, I had a Springfield St. Victor as part of the project, knowing that I was saving up for a BCM. What I did was, this is my advice to anybody that has a lower end rifle but they want something bigger and they're sick of people making fun of them, run that rifle all you want and then save up little bit by little bit, and then when you get close to what you can make with that resale value of the older rifle, sell that older rifle and then put the money you saved up combined with that money to buy the rifle you want. That's exactly what I did, and hey, here I am right now. So that's my recommendation. Yeah, man, I can't recommend this rifle enough. I mean, the damn thing is, it's combat proven all over the world. BCMs are everywhere. They're used in law enforcement. They're used by regular day people. Just a great time. It's a great time. I can't recommend it enough. If you guys want any more content like this, make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment, follow us on the Instagram page. That's where a bunch of spicy shit is at. And yeah, y'all have a good one, man.